One of the most well-known evolutionary lines in the Pokemon series, Eevee and its evolutions hold the title of most evolutions in one line of Pokemon to this day. First appearing in the Kanto games with its 3 classic evolutions, it's not hard to see why this normal-type Pokemon holds a spot in so many players' hearts. Despite this, while each of its evolutions may be as strong as each other in the stats department, they vary wildly in usability, both in competitive and in regular gameplay. Which one of these elementally diverse animals comes out on top, and which one walks away with its tail between its legs? I'm Kyle with Pokebinge, and this is EEVEELUTION's Weak to Powerful. Before we begin, we should define the criteria being used to rank each of the evolutions. While each has their own unique niches and strengths, we'll be focusing on the general usability on a playthrough team and in competitive Pokemon by looking into the stats, abilities, and movesets these Pokemon get. So while your favorite evolution may not place the highest, it doesn't mean we dislike it. We'll also be covering the Pokemon as it performs across the board to avoid bias, especially since some have only had a few generations while others have been around since the very beginning. Any ties between evolutions will be decided based on current viability as of the time of the Galar games. One last thing to consider, everyone's experiences are different, and these are just our experiences using the evolutions, both in a controlled test setting and in both story and competitive play. With those rules out of the way, let's begin. As per usual, we'll be starting with the weakest and working our way up to the most powerful. And starting things off at the bottom end of the spectrum is the fresh snow Pokemon, Glaceon. While its moveset may not be the most diverse, what it does have is a solid 130 special attack and 110 defense. However, it can't make use of the best of its arsenal due to its awful ice typing, only resistant to itself and having a plethora of common weaknesses such as fire and fighting. It's fittingly in last place. Ironically, it's also the last possible evolution to obtain in a given playthrough in most cases, requiring you to get the Icy Rock in all games, except the Galar games, where you can use an Ice Stone instead, which is already a massive hurdle. Placement can vary, from as early as on the way to the 7th gym in the Sinnoh games, all the way to having to beat the game in Black and White 2 in order to get one. Combine this with it typically being annoying to get, either being out of the way or requiring additional knowledge of what moves are needed, and it means the player usually has to go out of their way to save their Eevee until later on. Even worse for it, it's the only time-sensitive evolution in the case of the Shoal Cave and the Hoenn remakes. By the time you can get one, it will probably have learned most or all moves, and the player will need to catch a new one to level up and evolve if they don't want to use the move reminder. Therefore, the fastest way to obtain one is to either trade for one or to send an Eevee over to a friend to have it evolve and be sent back. Its moveset, while it does harbor some solid options such as Shadow Ball, Ice Beam, and Mirror Coat, if you want to do some Focus Sash shenanigans, mostly relies on moves it shares with many of its fellow evolutionary members, or ones it gets for stab. That said, this does not compare to its awful 60 base attack, effectively forcing it to be a special attacker, and its just as terrible 65 base speed, which results in it requiring a choice scarf for any chance to outspeed an opponent that isn't innately slow, such as Steelix. Topping this ice cream sundae of disappointment off is its lack of great abilities that are both tied to the weather. While both fit quite well, admittedly, Snowcloak requires Glaceon to be in the hail, requiring it to have the move of the same name or a partner with Snow Warning to be usable. Its other ability, Ice Body, restores its HP in the hail, but again, you need to have hail up for it to have any effect. But when it does, each turn it restores 1/16 of its max HP. The one major upside to this is that in hail teams, and on an ice monotype team, Glaceon can make for a great counter to special attackers, and can pick off weakened foes with Ice Shard, a move fitting with its capabilities to flash freeze and shoot its fur at foes. Sorry Glaceon, while you may have the most sleek design of any of Eevee's evolutions, you get no stars in the battle department. Maybe it's best you stick to creating snow at ski resorts, where you'll be much more appreciated. Our second weakest evolution has to be the flame Pokemon, Flareon. even if its body can heat to 1700 degrees Fahrenheit and it can shoot out flames of roughly 3000. Much of its stab options come in the form of special attacks. This wouldn't be too terrible for it if its attack and special attack were swapped. Boasting a massive 130 attack in comparison to its 95 special attack, Flareon, on paper, should hit fairly hard, right? Wrong. Sort of. Pause this video and take a guess what the strongest physical move with 100 base accuracy and no negative secondary effects is for Flareon. Well, here's your answer. As of Generation 8, as well as Generation 4, Flareon receives no physical move that has 100% accuracy without some sort of downside. To make matters worse, in the game where Flame Charge is available, that is the best move Flareon has with the aforementioned criteria, and that's only obtainable via the TM for it. The best move Flareon gets in Gen 8, and similarly in Gen 4, without the recoil of Flare Blitz, is Fire Fang, which only has 65 power before stab and 95 accuracy. Worse still, if you're playing in the first 3 generations, all fire moves were special by default, making it harder to use, so its average across the board isn't so hot. Pun intended. What sets it above Glaceon is 2 things: type and abilities. Whereas Glaceon suffered with both, Flareon has the second most defensive typing in the game, and in the original games of Red, Blue, and Yellow. While it does retain some of its common weaknesses, this time being to ground and water as the main 2, its better resistance pool makes up for it. Furthermore, its main ability, Flash Fire, means it has fire immunity. The same cannot be said for its hidden ability, Guts. Normally, Guts would be great since you could just burn the Pokemon, or in the games where Guts didn't negate the attack drop, Toxic Orb. Problem is that there are no generations where that's the case. While hidden abilities debuted in Generation 5 in the form of Dream World abilities, fire types have never been able to be burned while Guts was around. This means the only way to reliably activate the ability is to hold a Toxic Orb and badly poison yourself, which means you'll be on a quick burning timer. Otherwise, you have to be paralyzed, such as by Thunder Wave, or in Gen 5 and up, you have to use Soak and burn it while Flareon is a water type. Another fault it has, similar to Glaceon, is its terrible 65 base speed. This means that unless it's scarfed, Flareon will generally be going second, though this is offset on the ranking by the fact Flareon is obtainable as early as both Firestones and an Eevee are available. Another positive aspect of it is that as generations have gone by, while it does lack reliable stab options physically, it has access to great coverage moves. Examples include Body Slam, Priority and Quick Attack to ignore its speed when it needs a finish, or as of Gen 8, Super Power. While we can't currently rank Flareon any better, if it gets a chance in hidden ability or better stab options, we could foresee ourselves placing it higher on the list. Third from the bottom, we have Leafeon. While Glaceon may be able to hit hard, but is lackluster elsewhere, and Flareon has to rely more on coverage moves, Leafeon covers both of these aspects, boasting a solid 110 attack, 130 defense, and 95 speed, as well as immunity to Leech Seed, Powder moves, and Spore moves due to its grass typing. Leafeon can serve as a switch to counter those. However, grass typing is already among one of the worst typings, with common weaknesses in poison and fire, and is tied with Bug for the most number of types that resist it. Where Leafeon tends to shine most is on Sun teams, but that also serves as a double-edged sword for it. For one, Leaf Guard is highly situational, and while Chlorophyll boosts its speed to double in the sun, it requires the sun to be up, such as from sunny day or drought. To make matters worse, the sun boosts fire-type moves that it is weak to, while making one of its resistances hit weaker, a poor trait, when its strongest move, Solar Blade, requires a turn to charge if it's not sunny. With Leafeon's fairly weak special defense, only a base 65, and weaknesses that make competent special attackers, it means that Leafeon needs to either outspeed or have a way to tank a hit if it can't find a KO. The other reason why it makes it better than our prior 2 slots has to be how easily you can evolve it. While not as easy as simply slapping a Firestone on it like Flareon, excluding Johto and Galar, the Moss Rock is always somewhere in the beginning third of the game, ranging from just after the first gym to on the way to the third, fourth, or its equivalent. Additionally, unlike the Ice Rock, it tends to be in fairly open areas, so it is easy for the player to get to most of the time. That said, the games where there is no moss rock require either a trade or a different method, such as leafstone in Sword and Shield. With the Gen 2 remakes, however, you're out of luck, seeing as though there are none. If you want to play Heart Gold or Soul Silver with leafeon, you better hope a friend has one you can borrow, or transfer yourself one from another game. Hitting 5th place is the newest evolution, the intertwining Pokemon, Sylveon. While originally obtainable from leveling up with a Fairy-type move, while having 2 Affection Hearts, in Generation 8 it was changed to High Friendship. The earliest it can evolve is from using the TM for it in the Galar games, passing down the Egg move, Charm, or by tutoring a Fairy move onto Eevee and Legends Arceus, all of which can happen as early as level 2. Otherwise, the earliest an Eevee can evolve into a Sylveon is after it learns Baby Doll Eyes early on. This varies in level from 9 to 15, depending on the game, giving it one of the more unique methods of evolution, alongside others such as Malamar or Alchemy. Described in fairy tales as capable of beating down terrifying dragons, it is of no surprise that this evolution focuses on the special side with an impressive 110 special attack and 130 special defense. Its abilities, Cute Charm and Pixelate, are also quite useful, as of Pokemon Emerald and beyond. Cute Charm can be used out of battle while Sylveon is the lead Pokemon, to increase the odds of finding an opposite-gendered Pokemon when viable to a 2/3 chance. To make it sweeter, it even works while Sylveon is fainted. The only exceptions to this are genderless or single-sex Pokemon, mass outbreak Pokemon, and Pokemon from hidden grottos. Pixelate, on the other hand, works similar to other 8 abilities, turning normal moves into Fairy, and boosting them by a further 1.2x power before adding Stab. What keeps this cotton candy colored Pokemon from placing any higher is that it's horribly slow, with a base speed of 60, slower than all other evolutions and a majority of other Pokemon. To make it worse, there are simply better Fairy types to use for a playthrough, or in competitive play with more consistent abilities. Sure, Fairy might be debatably the best type right now, but what's stopping you from using a Mega Gardevoir if you want a fast Fairy type with Pixelate, or from using Slurpuff with Unburden and Citrus Berry? In a game where speed dictates what order you act, being slow and frail on one defense can be a death sentence. Just outside of our top 3 is Umbreon, the Moonlight Pokemon. Being a dark type with immunity to Prankster in the Alola games and onward is a great advantage, helping it avoid moves like Prankster, Toxic, and Thunder Wave from support and screen users, such as Klefki and Grimmsnarl. Its HP is a solid 95, and its defenses are 110 and 130 respectively. This allows the Pokemon to remain bulky, and even when it is statused, Synchronize allows it to give its opponent the same status, provided they aren't immune to it. This ability also allows the user, if placed in the first slot, to have a 50% chance of copying its nature to a wild Pokemon. While this isn't as important in a regular playthrough, natures are a major part of the competitive scene, granting a solid 10% boost to one stat at the cost of 10% of another. It also has access to a great variety of setup, restoration, and disruption moves, such as Baton Pass for stats, Wish and Protect for a guaranteed 50% heal, or Scouting, Toxic, Yawn, and Thunder Wave to harass the opponent, and Taunt and Torment to addle Pokemon that want to set up stats or entry hazards. The only thing stopping Umbreon from swapping spots with our number 3 pick is from our criteria. The fact that it no longer has access to Toxic without being transferred from a past game is a huge detriment, and something that is surprising to us, especially with its Pokedex entries referencing its Poisonous Sweat. Even a handful of non-poison types are able to learn it, like the Blossom line for example. Its method of evolution also requires the player to either play at night or change their device's time, while leveling it with high happiness. Unless you're a night owl or work later in the day, it might be more difficult to obtain than Espeon is. Taking our bronze medal is the Bubble Jet Pokemon Vaporeon. While this classic Gen 1 Pokemon is slow, it makes up for it with having a great 130 base HP, 110 base special attack, and 95 base special defense, being an incredible special tank. On top of its usual evolution moves and typical water moves, as a water type, it picks up the ability to use ice moves such as Ice Beam and Blizzard. This allows it to hit one of its weaknesses, grass, and common types like ground and flying super effectively. It even learns an ice move in Aurora Beam by leveling up. Additionally, it can neutralize stats gained by opponents with Haze, boost its own defense rapidly rapidly with Acid Armor, and sustain itself with Aqua Ring. Its two abilities are also great. While Hydration, the worst choice of the two, requires Rain to be effective, it can combo well with Rest to get a full heal and removal of the status at the end of a turn. This doubles with allowing it to pair well on Rain teams and Water monotype teams. Water Absorb provides an immunity to its own type, and provides synergy in double battles, where one Pokemon can use a move such as Surf to heal Vaporeon for 25% of its HP, while damaging the opponent's Pokemon. Water Absorb also allows it to safely switch into moves such as Scald and Hydro Pumps on a successful prediction. Its ease of evolution method in the Water Stone also helps with its placement, allowing for Eevee to evolve at any level into Vaporeon, and without any major gimmicks aside from an item. Additionally, unlike Umbreon, it still has usability in Gen 8, and can even be found in the wild at the Lake of Outrage in the Galar games, and from a time distortion in Legends Arceus. Gaining this silver medal is the Sun Pokemon, Espeon. Espeon takes both of what made Vaporeon and Umbreon strong and adds more. While it lacks the HP both have, it has 130 special attack, 110 speed, and a 95 base special defense. While less bulky than either, makes up for it by being more capable of dishing out hits or messing with opponents, such as by using Trick with a Choice Scarf. It also makes a capable Baton Pass user, able to boost its own stats up with Calm Mind, can make use of stored power with Stab, and can set up both screens. A Focus Sash allows it the opportunity to set up either of those options with little risk, or to boost for the potential to sweep if the opponent is weakened enough. Another common pick, a Life Orb, can ensure that a +1 Espeon can find knockouts and neutral hits against bulkier opponents that it normally couldn't at the cost of 10% HP per hit. It can, however, counteract this with Sustain in Morning Sun. Its 110 base speed allows it to outspeed all other evolutions except Jolteon, in addition to common threats such as Garchomp, Jirachi, and Salamence at base speed. It'll also outspeed setup threats like Volcarona and Gyarados before they use Quiver Dance and Dragon Dance respectively. Its hidden ability, Magic Bounce, also outpaces Umbreon's Inner Focus, as it reflects back status attacks, allowing it to bait and switch into entry hazards like Sticky Web or Stealth Rocks. The ability also allows it to bounce back status afflictions such as Toxic, Will-O-Wisp, and Thunder Wave without being statused itself. Magic Bounce even prevents Espeon from being locked out of setup by Taunt or Torment. Its primary ability, Synchronize, like Umbreon, allows it to copy status conditions to an opponent when inflicted, as well as to hunt for natures. Speaking of Morning Sun, Espeon's evolution method is considerably easier than Umbreon or Sylveon. While all three require hard friendship as of Gen 8, Espeon needs to only level up with high friendships in the day, since the majority of the time is considered day, with nights starting anywhere from 6 to 8 p.m., and typically lasting until 4 or 5 a.m. A typical person would be more likely to obtain an Espeon than an Umbreon. The exception to this is Pokemon Moon and Ultra Moon, where it would be easier to instead obtain an Umbreon. The only thing keeping this elegant avatar of the sun out of our first entry is its shiny. While it is supposed to be a reference to Jade's statues of cats, a nod to its inspiration of several mythical cat or cat-like creatures it's based on— wait, we're getting an update. That's not why it takes second place. Correction. The real reason Espeon is in second is due to its lacking defense, particularly to its weaknesses. With only a base 65 HP and 65 defense, it takes most physical hits terribly. Due to this fault, and its base speed requiring it to have a Choice Scarf to deal with a setup attacker that has had a couple of buffs applied, the Pokemon is the definition of a glass cannon. This is problematic since any Pokemon that can consistently hit a 179 or 350 speed at level 50 or 100 respectively can outspeed a non-Scarf Espeon with zero risk. Furthermore, Psychic as a type is not as strong as it used to be, with it only being able to super effectively hit Poison and Fighting type Pokemon, and neither want to particularly stay in unless they have a way to deal with Espeons such as Gengar. Finally, our top spot for most powerful evolution has to go to our friend Jolteon, the Lightning Pokemon. Essentially a reverse Espeon in terms of speed and special attack, Jolteon doubles down on what makes Espeon strong in the stats department. granting itself the ability for either an HP healing immunity or an effective choice scarce while statused. It makes up for the fact it loses out on the capabilities of out-of-battle utility and status reflection. And while Sylveon may have more prevalence in the current Sword and Shield metagame, Jolteon has consistently been fast and useful in all generations, with previous games granting it access to Hidden Power and Signal Beam to provide type coverage, and Black and White and beyond granting it access to Volt Switch, allowing it to pivot into another teammate as needed, or to get out of a sticky situation. Even with its fairly shallow move pool, the Pokemon has a variety of solid options, including the moves that most of the EEVEELUTIONs can learn. Jolteon's other ability, Quick Feet, a rather thematic choice considering its personality, allows Jolteon to equip a black orb to burn itself, granting it 1.5x speed at the cost of losing 1/16 of HP each turn. An opponent not expecting this can find themselves outsped, even with a setup Pokemon, and an Electro Ball set prioritizing having higher speed over an immunity can deal a high amount of damage to anything that doesn't have a high speed, a resistance, or an immunity to electric type damage. While it isn't the most powerful in the modern games, Jolteon still holds a solid placement, coming out with occasional usability in singles and doubles, and in formats where legendaries like Raikou are not allowed, be it official play or unofficial tiers. Even better for its case, it consistently placed in the OU tier, on Smogon for its usability in the earlier generations. Its evolution method, requiring use of a Thunderstone, allows it to easily evolve at any level, meaning your Eevee can be viable at any portion of play. And that's our full evolution list from weak to powerful. But let us know in the comments section what your opinions are. Let us know what your favorite Eevee evolution is. And if you want to do us a huge solid, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever we upload a new video here on PokeBinge. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.